Making a sequel is a dangerous game for any film franchise. Trying to keep the franchise fresh and interesting can be incredibly difficult regardless of the premise, and that is where a great villain comes in. I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are the 10 best movie sequel villains ever. Number 10. Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of the truly great modern-day villains of cinema, the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Thanos caused chaos and carnage the likes of which have rarely been seen in recent years, all as part of his skewed attempt to make the galaxy more sustainable. Of course, we got our first glimpse of Thanos in a post-credits sting in The Avengers, itself the 6th MCU movie, before seeing a smidge more of the character in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. Another post-credits appearance followed in Avengers Age of Ultron, before Thanos brutally took center stage in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. The simple fact that Thanos wiped out half of all existence with a snap of his fingers tells you all you need to know about how ruthless and clinical a rogue he is, and he's very much set the bar for MCU villains from here on out. Number 9. Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Man's Chest. The first Pirates of the Caribbean film caught audiences by surprise. The swashbuckling epic based on a Disneyland ride had low expectations from many people, including fans of said ride. No one really knew if this was going to be any good, but the film ultimately succeeded, launching another huge franchise for Disney. They followed it up with 2 messy sequels that serves as 2 parts of the same story, so you'd better watch both films if you want the story to make sense. The exceptionally talented Bill Nighy played the villain Davy Jones, with the assistance of a significant amount of CGI. Despite the mediocrity of the films, Davy Jones was emotional and complex while still being larger-than-life evil. The performance was brilliant in 2 less than brilliant movies. Number 8. Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th, Part 2. Few horror characters have pierced mainstream pop culture quite as much as Jason Voorhees, yet some casual movie-going sorts have been known to overlook the fact that Jason wasn't the killer behind the carnage of 1980's Friday the 13th. In actuality, and to the downfall of Casey Becker in the opening of Wes Craven's Scream, Jason of course wasn't properly introduced until Friday the 13th Part 2. Instead, that first Friday the 13th picture centered on Jason's mother Pamela on a rampage to avenge the death of her poor son. Sure, we did get a glimpse of Jason Voorhees during the final minutes of Friday the 13th, as the movie's sole survivor Alice was pulled under the Camp Crystal Lake water by him, but that was revealed to merely be a dream sequence. For Alice, she would finally get to meet Jason during the early minutes of Friday the 13th Part 2. Having found the decapitated head of Pamela Voorhees in her refrigerator, Alice had an ice pick stuck through her skull courtesy of the very alive adult Jason. With that, the Friday the 13th franchise was fully off to the races, and had a character who would go on to anchor a further 8 sequels, a crossover, and a remake. Number 7. Owen Davian, Mission Impossible 3. In terms of cold, calculating villains, Mission Impossible 3's Owen Davian had a twisted, ruthless streak that makes him stand out as one of the great modern-day rogues of cinema. Played by the brilliant, dearly missed Philip Seymour Hoffman, black market dealer Davian was such a thorough bastard he even had Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt believing that his wife had been brutally executed. Hoffman's character was clearly never going to match Hunt when it came to physicality, but it's in mind games and manipulation where Davian thrives and truly shines. Heck, he even murdered his own head of security merely to mess with Ethan as part of the aforementioned ruse regarding the death of Hunt's wife Julia. Mission Impossible 3 itself may not be one of the franchise's greatest entries, but it absolutely serves up one of the series' greatest enemies, with Academy Award winner Hoffman devouring scenery with his mumbled delivery and evil intentions. In the hands of another actor, Owen Davian could have been a total dud, a forgettable bad guy, but in the hands of Philip Seymour Hoffman, we got a truly terrifying figure. Number 6. Emperor Palpatine in Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader inspired fear in the hearts of the rebellion and the minds of filmgoers. Whilst there's an argument to be made for him being one of the greatest villains in movie history, it is his Emperor that shines as a malevolent force in the 3rd installment of the original trilogy. While fans are first introduced to the Emperor in the 2nd movie, The Empire Strikes Back, he becomes a force to be reckoned with in the 3rd movie. He's the man who originally corrupted Anakin Skywalker and turned him to the dark side. He's also the one trying to crush the rebellion while trying to convince his right-hand Sith Lord to kill his own son. Emperor Palpatine is the embodiment of evil in the Star Wars universe. Number 5. Ivan Drago, Rocky IV. When audiences quote a rogue's lines, you know you got a great villain on your hands. The Rocky franchise is one full of brilliant characters, cheesy dialogue, and fist-pumping soundtracks. And with Rocky IV, the series served up one of cinema's best bad guys in the shape of Dolph Lundgren's Ivan Drago. An unemotional, flawless, stoic machine of a man, this Soviet boxer proved the perfect polar opposite for Sylvester Stallone's Rocky Balboa and his emotional, flawed everyman persona. Throw in a large dollop of Cold War tensions, political agendas, and a somewhat ham-fisted sequence of everybody can change, and Rocky IV is a movie that clearly splits opinions amongst franchise fans, yet all agree that Ivan Drago is the best villain that the series has ever delivered. His stall was brilliantly set out early for audiences as he shockingly killed beloved Apollo Creed. With this, the Siberian Express was taken to a whole different level than Rocky III's Clubber Lang, raising the stakes and even laying the foundations for an eventual Ivan return by the time of 2018's Creed 2. Number 4. Dr. Octopus in Spider-Man 2. The Spider-Man film franchise gets rebooted so often that fans are getting whiplash thanks to all the sudden starts and stops. That's one of the reasons MCU watchers got bent out of shape when it looked like Sony and Disney were breaking up. No one wanted to go through another reboot. In the early 2000s, Sony's Spider-Man franchise was being directed by Sam Raimi and starred Tobey Maguire. While the third movie killed this iteration of the wall crawler off, the second one took him to new heights. The villain had a lot to do with that. Alfred Molina played the role of Dr. Otto Octavius, the scientist who would become one of Spider-Man's greatest villains. His performance is what matured the franchise and made a third movie possible. What the producers did with that opportunity is a whole different conversation. Number 3. The T-1000, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It is the best film in the entire franchise and most likely the last watchable Terminator film ever made. The original film found Sarah Connor being chased by an android killer, aka the T-800, sent to kill her before she gives birth to the leader of the Resistance. By the time T2 rolls around, Sarah has grown into the role of a warrior, and the next T-800 has come back in time to protect her from a new Terminator, the T-1000. Made of liquid metal, the T-1000 can change its form to look like virtually anyone or anything. Robert Patrick plays the T-1000 with a calm, unsettling demeanor that's genuinely creepy, combined with a level of power that made him virtually unstoppable. He is absolutely the franchise's greatest villain. Number 2. The Joker in The Dark Knight. While Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy becomes bloated and top-heavy as it moves along, it's hard to deny the quality of his iteration of the Joker. Played by the late Heath Ledger, this version of Gotham's clown prince of crime is less of a Machiavellian prankster who kills as a punchline, and more of a force for anarchy and disruption. For this Joker, the ends don't justify the means because he might not even know what the end of his plan is. Ledger's performance earned him a posthumous Oscar nomination a year to the day after his death. While some argue that he wouldn't have received the nomination if he was still alive, you can't argue the caliber of his performance. It was truly unsettling and edgy, proving to be the perfect match to Nolan's vision of Batman. And it was indeed a hard act to follow, as Jared Leto found out. Number 1. Khan Noonien Singh in Star Trek The Wrath of Khan. Khan is the greatest villain in Star Trek history, bar none. First appearing in the 1960s TV series, the genetically enhanced Khan took on Kirk and the crew of the Enterprise. He ultimately lost, but eventually reappeared in the original crew's second film outing. While he was still charming and charismatic, the years had not been good to Khan and his team, something he was happy to take out on Kirk. Ricardo Montalban played Khan in the TV series and the Star Trek film. He brought this menacing charm, intelligence, and intensity to the role that made you believe right up until the last moments that his plans might actually succeed. If anyone is going to beat James T. Kirk, it's going to be Khan. While Benedict Cumberbatch did a fine job rebooting the character, neither he nor the movie he plays Khan in holds a candle to the classic version. And that's our list. Do let me know down in the comments if you agree with us or if you reckon there's any movie sequel villains we missed out on including. As always, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter where I'm @JessMcDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great content.